My guests are well familiar with the challenges of animal advocacy, whether it's shortages in shelter capacity, staffing, or funding. But they are also driven by the rewards of their work, which has defined most of their adult lives. Here to talk about it, I am joined by Mike Bricker, Chief of Duval County Animal Care and Protective Services. Good morning, Chief Bricker.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Lindsay Layendecker, Animal Fosterer and Senior Director of Development with the Jacksonville Humane Society. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning.
We are also joined by Jessie Miller. She's founder and director of the farm animal rescue organization Epic Outreach. Good morning, Jessie.
Good morning.
And Lawrence Nicolas, CEO of the Jacksonville Humane Society. Welcome back, Lawrence.
Thanks, Ann. Good morning.
So I would like to start, if we could, Lawrence, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about overall trends that you're seeing in the Humane Society's work.
Yeah, absolutely. So this will be the second year in a row that we have seen our intake actually increase. So we had seen fewer animals enter the shelter the years immediately post pandemic, but in the last 2 years, especially on the underage kitten side, we have seen our intake increase pretty dramatically. And expect us to be right around 9,000 total animals entering the shelter at JHS. And I know that Animal Care and Protective Services has also seen similar increases so far this year, certainly.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we have like a 34% increase in intakes this year over the last 2 years.
And
So
how many total animals would that be about?
We're looking at probably an additional 1,000 to 2,000 animals than we had the previous 2 years.
So between us, we're right around a little bit higher than 15,000 total intakes. 16,000 is probably fair to expect for this year,
Hmm.
which is definitely up from our post-pandemic low, which is going to be more like 11 or 12,000. Now, this is still significantly lower than it was going back 2017, 18, 19. I mean, at the peak of shelter intake here in Duval County, the ACPS was taking in nearly 20,000 animals a year
By
on their
itself.
own,
Yeah.
without JHS taking in any. So we were seeing 25 to 30,000 animals a year, not in ancient history. So while, yes, we are seeing trends start to trickle back up a little bit, it's still significantly lower than it was pre-pandemic.
And so what, Lindsay, is there a way to have a sense of what is behind a trend like this? Is there an understanding? I mean, presumably the overall decline from the, 17, 18, 19, shows some improvement in awareness, spay neuter. But I mean, when something starts to tick up again like this, what are you all looking at?
I think the interesting thing that we say a lot is that it's not necessarily an animal problem. A lot of times when an animal comes to us, usually it's a human problem. So I think just the changes that we've experienced as a society, as a nation, as a globe, since the pandemic in terms of housing and affordability and prices going up, all of those things also directly impact pet parents. And so I don't think it's so much that attitudes towards animals has changed so much as our culture has had a shift and we're just living in a different world now. And so human problems normally are the big contributor to sort of a rise in intake.
And is that different, Jesse, in the world of farm animal rescue? I'm not sure that you see the same trends as, puppies and kittens, or if it's a different set of variables.
I think for us, we don't really see trends because we don't have the statistics and the data to really see in a trend. But we do see that people lack of knowledge, and education is a huge thing. And like Lindsay said, it's not really an animal problem; it is a human problem. So the animals and the calls that we receive for potbelly pigs or horses or goats, chickens, whatever that people need to rehome, it's because of either housing or they didn't do their research when they were acquiring that animal, or if they're not allowed to have the animal where they're living because the ordinance or whatever stipulates that they can, and of course they didn't do their research, or they don't know how to take care of the animal. So it is an education problem, and it is something that we really strive at Epic Outreach is to really share information to help people make better choices, and help those animals where either they can keep them or find ways that they can help them.
Chief Bricker, when you are seeing, an increase at your facility, what does that translate into? Is that just crowding? Does it mean that there are naturally, necessarily more euthanasias? What happens then?
Yeah, I mean it could account for all those things. Definitely crowding. As Lawrence was mentioning, a little bit earlier is that length of stay is increasing. So the not only the amount of animals that are coming to us has increased, but the amount of time that they're staying in our shelter has
How
increased as
long do
well.
they usually stay?
Well, the goal nationally is that we want them to be in there for like 14 days at a max, 2 weeks. But now we're seeing dogs that are staying there for 30, 45. We have a couple dogs at our shelter that have been there for 500 days.
I know, Lindsay, that as a fosterer, you try to get animals out of that environment and into a home, if at all possible, to take care of them. But has there been much research or understanding of just the impacts on an animal if they're in an environment? I mean, even the best environments in a shelter situation are noisy. They can be scary. The smells can be kind of assaultive.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been several studies done about the decrease in stress levels. So, two things to look at for dogs: it's dogs and cats, adult dogs and cats. It's definitely able a chance for a foster to learn more about them that you can't learn in a shelter setting. A lot of things that adopters may want to know: are they house trained? Do they like riding in the car? Do they get along with other animals and kids? We can learn those things in a foster home a lot faster than we can in a shelter setting, which is wonderful. And then when you're talking about neonatal animals, primarily kittens, their immune systems are so compromised because they're not able to have vaccines and they're just little itty bitties. And so being in a shelter with a lot of other animals and a lot of other germs and diseases, no matter how hard we try as a staff, it's sort of the same principle as when the kids go back to school, they all get sick. It's, little babies in the shelter get sick. So it's best for those little neonatal animals to get out of the shelter so that they have the best chance at survival.
And Lawrence, if you could, ask for one of the components that go into running a shelter, which would be, more money, more staffing or more volunteers to help do things like walk the animals or foster them. Do you have a wish list order?
Well, I mean, always money is what's always going to make that stuff go around, right? You're not going to be able to do any of those things without the resources to do it. But it really is a people thing. I mean, really, I think having positive community engagement, like Lindsay's talking about, people wanting to come and foster animals or adopt a pet, that really makes the difference. The best intended shelters can't do anything if they don't have the community behind them to support them. Otherwise, I mean, who's coming to get these animals if not the community? So making sure that we have people who want to support us, who are excited about our work, that we're sharing the positives of what we're doing. I talk about this a lot, very often, that the perception of the shelter for most was formed by Lady and the Tramp and the idea of the dog catcher with a giant net and this scary, stinky place that people don't want to go. Well, that's the story that we've told. So we need to tell a different story, that the shelter is a place that's happy, a place that homes are made and that love grows. The more that we can share that story, then people want to come and be a part of our work because they want to, because they're excited, not because they're sad or feel guilt to do so.
Right. If you're just joining us, we are talking to four local animal welfare advocates about rescue agencies and the challenges and rewards of their work. If you would like to join our conversation, whether you work in animal rescue or just are a pet lover, you can give us a call at 904-549-2937. You can also email First Coast Connect at wjct.org or reach out on social media. We've got a call from Linda in Mandarin. Good morning, Linda. Go ahead.
Good morning. I am some people would call a feral cat. I call outside cat mom, a childless cat mom. And one of the things I'd like to suggest that I found very daunting this year is for first timers trying to just take care of animals that they find outside or whatever. When we call shelters, the first thing we're told is, we don't have space, we can't do anything for you, you just try to catch them or do whatever. What I want to offer is that pet lovers, which I wasn't until 5 years ago, you and the animal control, if you would just say, I know you can't keep these animals long term, but there are a lot of pet lovers that would be willing to foster an animal for 2 to 3 weeks, as long as there are ongoing adoptions. So just say, could you foster a cat or multiple cats for 2 or 3 weeks until we can get them adopted? But trying to get them adopted, we need to have a trap program community-wise. Look at the zip codes where the animals are being returned from and focus on there so we can do a community trap to get the females fixed.
Mm. Thanks, Linda. What is the status of those trap, neuter, release programs? How do they work? Who funds them? Who does them?
Yeah, so I could speak a little bit to this. So we, as the city of Jacksonville, we provide a large sum of money to First Coast No More Homeless Pets. So every resident can get free spay neuter through that program. It's up to 6 cats in a month that they can bring. But as you can imagine, it's that gets backed up pretty quickly. So the scheduling gets backed up, but that funding is there for that. The truth is, there's a lot of cats. And we do have a lot of advocates like Linda that are doing a really good job with that trap neuter release program. But as always, we want to grow that. We need more veterinarians to sign on to do that program to help us out with that. First Coast does everything they can, but the demand definitely outweighs the capacity.
And it is incumbent on the person who's caring for those cats to bring in the cat. Is that right? There's not like a program that goes out and collects them and brings them in and sprays them,
Correct.
right?
And one thing I would add to that too is, from my travels across the country, there are very few communities who invest $400,000 of city tax money for spay neuter for animals in the community.
And is that what we're doing here?
Correct. So
Yes, you
200,000 is for that feral fix program Mike was talking about, and there's an additional 200 for low income pet owned pets
Yep.
through the same or similar program as well. And I mean that's one thing I think lots of Duval County residents don't realize is that level of investment from the city is significant,
Yeah.
and it's higher than it is in most places across this country.
Jesse, I want to ask you about starting your rescue because it was really um, you were kind of mission driven. It's not only about the animals and saving them from sometimes very dire situations, but also about using them as a teaching tool and really trying to um, teach compassion.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, right? Because we only have so much capacity to take in so many animals at the sanctuary. So at some point, you've got to share information to hopefully, inspire people to make better choices, and then to learn more. A lot of people think that the sanctuary is, the place that these animals want to go to. And just like dogs and cats want a home of their own, these potbelly pigs and a lot of the horses, they really want a home of their own. We have over 70 animals at our sanctuary. There's just me. I can't give them all the love every single day that a home, their own home could give them. So really it's an education thing for us, and we do teach that through their stories. So when an animal comes to us, like, Jimmy the pig who, was saved from going to slaughter, we can teach, compassion about figuring out where your food comes on your plates. Jimmy is, a farm pig that, is where bacon and pork come from. And so teaching people, letting them see and meet the animal, having that human animal bond connection when they come to the sanctuary and get a tour is hugely important for us to help carry that message.
We've got a call from John on the south side. Good morning, John. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for the conversation this morning on taking care
Sure.
of animals in the community. I did want to note that in support of what the previous lady had commented about with regard to the feral cat situation, I take care of a couple dozen cats in our community, and it's a growing issue. There's a constant need to trap the males and the females and get them spay neutered. But No More Homeless Pets now does charge $25 per spay neuter, up to 6 a month, as the gentleman was noting. There is a fee, and just I love doing it, and it winds up attracting raccoons and possums, so they just get fed in the mix. But I wonder. I'm an older guy, and I come from a time when we didn't do this in terms of spay, neuter, and release them back into the community. And I'm wondering, even with the best of intentions, the colonies tend to grow. If you're putting out food and you're taking care of them, it's a constant challenge. Some of the males you can't catch, some of the females you can't catch, and here comes another litter.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the long-term solution to this? And thank you.
Thanks, John, and thanks for the work that you do. Are we seeing any measurable decline in feral cat populations because of trap neuter release, or are they continuing to grow?
Well, like we mentioned earlier, the intake has gone down in a huge amount. When we used to get in 20,000 animals, half of those were cats. So we are seeing a decline. Over the past 2 years, we have seen a bit of an increase in kittens and cats, like Lawrence was saying. But that's where these programs really come in, and that's where they shine. I know that Jacksonville Humane Society actually hired a community cat coordinator.
Did.
So
Hmm.
they're putting more work into this because they did see that increase.
Like a cat wrangler.
Yeah, 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 pretty
Exactly.
much. But this is something that we didn't. We did see a decrease, and we want to see more of that. So we're kind of going back to what we did pre-pandemic, and really putting a focus on these TNR cats,
And I
these
think
community cats.
too, the other factor is, pre these TNR programs, the alternative was catch and kill.
Yep.
That the animals were, so those 20,000 cats that came into ACPS at that time, the vast majority of them were euthanized because there was no other option for those cats.
Wow.
So as societal expectations have changed, and rightfully so, that these animals deserve a chance at life, we shouldn't end their lives prematurely in the shelter. That's what's forced the TNR programming to exist in the first place. So I think, trying to compare pre-TNR to post-TNR is very difficult
Mm.
because the bar for success has changed. Now with the bar for success is that the cats leave the shelter alive. So it's hard to put. We don't want to go backwards there. I mean,
Right.
that those programs are essential. Otherwise, those cats simply there's nowhere for those cats to go otherwise.
And data shows it didn't work. And when ACPS was getting in those 20,000 cats and euthanizing a great deal of them, they got that same amount of cats in the very next year.
Yeah.
So the only reason we saw a decrease was because Jacksonville put in so much work into the TNR program. So that's why.
All right. We've got a call from Pam in Jacksonville. Good morning, Pam. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to call and say thank you so much for all you're doing. I'm a security officer in a multi-business complex here in Jacksonville, and we catch them, you all pick them up, and you bring them back, and it's been wonderful. You've been really effective, and I would like to suggest getting out there for businesses. I have a tremendous amount of business support. I've homed 9 kittens this past season, just from people who want to be able to help. They get them before they come to you, get them healthy, and then bring them to you so that you can put them in for adoption. So the businesses have been very helpful too. So thanks you for all what you're doing and making it available for people to foster and getting the big expenses out of the way so that these kittens have a chance.
Thanks for the call, Pam. Lindsay, I mean, doing a lot of fostering in your line of work. Can you talk a little bit about how you would make the case to somebody to foster a pet? I think a lot of people think it would come with, I mean, obviously it's a responsibility. Cost, I guess, would be one concern.
Mhm.
How do you sell it to people?
It is one of the most rewarding things, honestly, I've ever done in my life. And the shelters do take care of the costs. So there's no veterinary care costs. They provide the supplies. But it's just a really exciting way to give back. Personally, for me, it was how I got connected to the animal community and how I have the job that I have now and how I met and made so many friends. So there are so many benefits for it. In addition to life saving, you truly are a life saving piece of the puzzle. And that's what I love about fostering and people who trap cats and people who work in that field. It's such rewarding work that sometimes goes unnoticed. And so a huge thank you out there to everyone who is fostering and trapping cats. But it's just for me the emotional reward. I think people get worried that they'll get sad when the animal goes away. Don't worry, we'll give you another animal. You won't be sad anymore.
Not gonna run out.
No, and you might adopt one, and that's okay too. Like people call it a foster fail. It's not a fail, it's a win. The animal found a home. We're happy. So just come and talk to us if you're nervous about it. I think that's another thing, especially with bottle baby kittens. I won't know what to do. Come in. Our staff will train you on the spot, or if you're not comfortable, we'll start you off with maybe a mama cat and some kittens, and you can work your way up to it. So.
Yeah. I was curious, for the animals that you take at the Epic Farm Rescue, Jessie, is this kind of their final destination? I mean, we're talking about, at the other facilities adopting out or finding a permanent home, but is this their permanent home?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We do adopt out some of them. Some of them will stay with us if they're not, eligible to go into a home for whatever reason, physical or emotional. But we do have some baby piglets right now that could use some fostering.
Uh-huh.
They're kind of on the unsocial side, and we would love to get them in a home where they get a lot of socialization, but they're up for adoption. And we have several other pigs that are up for adoption. Potbelly pigs make great pets. They're just like a dog. They're just in a pig form. They do listen. You can potty train them. You can teach them tricks.
And for
They're
people who are watching our live stream, there is some great little piggy footage. I mean, they are very sweet.
Yeah.
And so they're maybe sometimes a little bigger than people expect, though. I mean, what should people know if they're adopting a pig?
Yeah, I mean, potbelly pigs, they can get to be about the size of, maybe a 50, 60-pound dog. But in the sense of a pig, they're very dense. So they're going to be like 80 to 120 pounds or more. Some of them get a little bit bigger. It just varies depending on their breeding and their body makeup and chemical makeup. And so they can get, we say average is 80 to 120 pounds, but they can get up to 250, 300 pounds. So I always recommend to people who want to adopt, go visit a sanctuary, see the different sizes. I mean, at our sanctuary, we have ranges from pigs that are 40, 50 pounds all the way up to 300, 400, 500 pounds. So come see them and see what you're getting into. And we can give you information about how to care for them and, what you need to do and what you need to know to be able to provide for them. But they do make great pets. I do tell people they are very clean animals, unlike people think. I don't know if there was mud pictures up there or
Yeah.
video, but
Yeah.
they love mud because pigs naturally don't sweat. They cannot control their body temperature. So the only way they can cool off in the summer or anytime is to get into mud and get in water. So they're not dirty animals. They just like to be in mud because it's provides, sunscreen, so they don't get sunburns.
Mhm.
And of course, it helps to cool them off. So they love mud.
We've got a call from Hilda on the west side. Good morning, Hilda. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you to all of you and what you do, and thank you to all the trappers. They're wonderful. I think there are the people that are, breeding dogs, in particular the pit bull mixes that seem to be predominantly what are ending up in the animal care and protective services. We need to get some type of control over that. And there are a lot of people dumping animals, in particular the cats. Maybe if they had satellite offices on each side of town, that would cut down on that because people maybe don't want to go to 4th Street. I do think hopefully they do have vouchers for low-income people who want to have animals, to have them, to have their animals neutered. There should be some type of law that people need to get their animals neutered because there is a lot of problems with people dumping cats in particular and them not getting neutered.
Yeah. Thank you, Hilda, for that. Chief Bricker, when it comes to like an enforcement level, I mean, what are there any guidelines governing, people needing to spay or neuter, or is it just, the availability of it and trying to make it affordable? And then to her question about particular breeds that sometimes people are reluctant to adopt, let's be honest. I mean, sometimes people are a little hesitant to take in a pit bull or a dog with that breed in it because they're worried.
Okay. I can answer this question. So, well, first, I guess about pit bulls. Number one, we don't really know what's in our shelter. That's why we don't breed label. There's an amazing group called the Animal Farm Foundation that did studies on this. They tested 100 dogs that you or I would think are pit bulls or pit bull mixes. They have it detailed on this poster. You see all their pictures. And only one out of that 100 was actually like a true like pit bull or pit bull mix. So we really don't know. But the dogs that we do have at our shelter are some of the most amazing dogs that I've ever seen in my entire life. I spent a lot of time in animal welfare, and these are my favorite dogs. So whatever these dogs are the greatest. They're good at everything. They could just, stay at home with you. They can go for a 10-mile jog. They just want to, be loved, and that's all they really need. But as far as that goes, but we see all sorts of stuff in the shelter. Small dogs, big dogs, medium dogs, every single color. I mean, if you walk through my shelter right now, and you think of a breed, you're probably going to find something that is that breed or looks just like it. So if you don't want a large, short-haired, blocky-headed dog, don't worry. We have plenty of other dogs for you, and definitely a ton of cats. As far as the enforcement, there are a couple ordinances that do help with spay and neuter. Right now, if you have more than 5 dogs, the 6th dog or 7th or 8th has to be fixed. You can only have up to 5
Oh.
dogs that are not altered in your home. But to speak about the breeding, traditionally we haven't really done a lot of enforcement for breeders, but I'm proud to say that this year we will be starting that heavy. We just introduced 2 new positions at the shelter. They're specialty investigators, and their job is going to be to make sure that our breeders in Jacksonville are in compliance, and that people that are selling dogs are doing it legally and appropriately.
Okay. I'm going to take a call from Belinda in Jacksonville. Good morning, Belinda. Go ahead.
Hi, I am involved in the TNR and I live at Penny Retirement Community. And we are subject to quite a few drop offs, especially cats. But I have been involved in trap and release, which is fixing cats. And we've done close to a little over 50 so far. And I personally feed every day between 10 and 12 cats. Most of them have been fixed. We have, I think, 2 right now that I need to catch and release. But it's about one of the most valuable programs that Clay and Duval County participate in. I don't know how many other counties do that, but it is very valuable, and it's the absolute only way that we're ever going to get a hold of these cats and keep them from breeding. And people think these little kittens are just so wonderful, but then they fail to do something about fixing them, and so it's just a vicious circle. And I don't think they are poorly intended to do that. They don't really want to do it like that, but they just, like someone else was saying, education. But the TNR program is just very valuable, and I am very grateful.
Thanks, Belinda. Appreciate it. I do just kind of want to go around and I mean, you all work in this industry. If you each had sort of your one wish that you could have, I'd be interested in what it is that you would like the community to know, either about the work that you do or the need that you see. Chief Bricker.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's there's a lot, but I think if adoption was our first option, it would help out with most of these issues. So if our first choice was to adopt from a shelter, whether it's JHS or ACPS, that would help with the overcrowding. That would help with spay and neuter. Every animal that you get from us is spayed or neutered, microchipped, fully vaccinated. Helps out with a ton. So I think if we had more people to come in and adopt from our location, we'd be in a much better spot.
Yeah, Lindsay.
I've been in the animal welfare sphere since 2011, and all of my work has been in Jacksonville. And so I just want my wish would be for everyone to know how special Jacksonville is, in the sense that it got to the place of life saving by collaboration, by working together. So that's the community working together, ACPS and the Jacksonville Humane Society and the rescues, and everyone's working together. The importance of that and the value of that, and how special that truly makes Jacksonville. As a person who has seen the not so great days to really the better days, I think having sort of a reflection and appreciation of that history and that collaboration is truly, I think, what benefits the animals the most, is our partnership together.
Yeah, that is pretty remarkable. Jessie, in terms of the work that you do on the farm.
Yeah, I just want to say before, if this is the last time I get to speak, that we are very blessed in this community to have really great leaders in all respects, from me with the sanctuary to our animal shelters, municipal shelter. We have really good people leading for the animals. So I feel incredibly lucky to be here today with everybody, and so I think for me, it's really about kindness. I mean, just like Mike was just sharing, we do at the sanctuary, any animals that we adopt out, we spay, neuter, we vaccinate, and we microchip all of our pigs. And primarily that's what we adopt out. So we have kind of the same concept in animal sheltering world, in the sanctuary world, where we try to minimize the, breeding of pigs and other animals to help control that population, because we're overwhelmed in our farm animal world as well. So for me, it's really kindness. I really hope that people can raise their conscience and see that dogs and cats are very valued in our communities, but let's raise our conscience and see all species as valued, from horses, pigs, cows, chickens, rabbits. Let's see them all equal, and hopefully start treating them better, with more kindness and compassion, and with the same kind of view that we see dogs and cats.
Right. Lawrence?
Yeah, so I guess I'll steal kind of some highlights from both of those folks on the other side of the table here. I've been in animal welfare and sheltering since 2008 and all over the country. And I can definitely see I didn't come to Jacksonville until 2021. And I can absolutely echo what Lindsay's saying is that some of what happens here is exceptional in terms of the level of collaboration, the fact that we can have this conversation around this table and it be that we're all fighting the same fight, as it were. Um, that's unusual and it's special and it's fantastic. So I would definitely hope and wish that more folks in our community could know just how fortunate we have it, frankly, because we are all together. We're all on the same side here. And I think too what Mike said about adoption being the first option really is at this point where we sit absolutely critical. Um, that we spend a lot of time trying to solve problems within the shelter and on the intake side and what can we do to prevent animals from entering the shelter. But the best way that we can help more animals is by ramping up our adoption programs, by helping more animals who are in our care find their next adoptive home, then we'll be there for the next one. So I think if we can continue to really prioritize that part of our work, then we'll be in a better place.
All right. Lawrence Nichols from the Jacksonville Humane Society, Jessie Miller, founder of Epic Outreach, Lindsay Layendecker, Senior Director of Development with the Jacksonville Humane Society, and Chief Mike Bricker with the Duval County Animal Care and Protective Services. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for the work that you do.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you.